But the Norwegian butter crisis of 2011 just confuses my goddamn brain, because how the actual frick does an entire country run out of butter? Did Norway just come downstairs like, open this fridge? I can't read that. I was going to explain how the butter crisis happened, but then I noticed your freaking hilarious attempt at writing we've run out of butter. I'm not sure if you know, but you just basically wrote, we drove out of lubrication. And I think that's beautiful. I'm sick of the U.S. government. I'm moving to California. Frick the U.S. Yeah, hey, who wants to tell them?
Warning. All armed personnel, the mortally challenged have entered the compound. Evacuation is advised.
Who cares? The point is that he got a deal at $200 copper a day. It's his money. The fact that he used it to buy you something in Europe that he didn't need it. I'm just convinced my mate that one side of a cheap burner is in fact a stinking nitro. Where is it? Shortage. Shall we go? Yes, please. Imagine being on duty about that, having food out, and letting you have a great time. Everybody wants to hear the chicken size water. But good morning. Driving down on property in grass and your contact office. You might want to send an email that we didn't get this thing. They don't have their phone. It's the craziest reason all the fires are now. They were calling my husband's phone from the number that wasn't her own, saying, I got carjacked on my way to work, so hopefully to come in all week, and I'm calling off my friend's phone because my phone was in the car, so you won't be able to think about a week either. As soon as you hung up there from their cell phone, that was it on a file, and she picked up saying, hey, I'm driving, who's this? No crime, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. But after that, you can do all the crime you want. Don't worry about it. Are you white? I guess so. When you ate at a Chinese restaurant, you realize Chinese restaurants are often used as a random gathering spot for actual Chinese people, right? What makes you think you have the right to barge in there and take up space in a place that should be a safe space for people of Chinese heritage? They have good noodles. That doesn't answer the question. Do you know what cultural appropriation is?
All armed personnel, the mortally challenged have entered the compound. Evacuation is advised.
To answer the question, they have good noodles. You don't have to be Chinese to go to a Chinese restaurant. I don't know why, but the big loud voice of the fucking narrator on the Discovery Channel, David Attenborough, he has a freaking name. Believe it or not, people who work for big TV programs or big any sort of projects, they're people too. I know, it's hard to believe. Download more RAM. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Pretty much a scam. I always thought my phone was too much RAM on it, and I thought this app installment totally not recommended. 3 out of 5 stars. Good for you, just don't even go raw and made my son get sick. Yeah, you're supposed to bake it. I tripped up that. Tried to wipe the dye off my forehead. About tomorrow is their first day back to work. Today around 5 p.m. Douglas was hit by a gunshot and ran off. We've been searching for the past 2 hours with no luck, and we're here to the big sunset. Which one is Douglas? Oh my god. Why did these Douglas have what looks like sugar in their mouths? Oh god. Gotta be kidding. Gotta be kidding. This is a very bad idea, a very stupid idea. I would like to know how to make that. Egypt's Ministry of Energy cut the electricity at Egypt's Ministry of Water due to unpaid bills. In retaliation, Ministry of Water cut off the water of Energy Ministry. Sometimes you gotta leave the fake people behind. People with baby? By 2005 or so, it will become clear that the internet's impact on the economy has been no greater than the fax machines. Nobel Prize winner economist in Paul Duncan, 1998. Any twin that loves to eat beef, as my gator always told, a very of a sock. Maximum of 5 with 3 customers at a time. I called the restaurant to make a reservation, they couldn't get it to work, so asked for a food appointment, and now I can never show my face there again. Stop letting your heart and your coochie choose your men. I'm confused. What is left? Oh, never mind. Well, my brain. You're right, sis. Lol, you was right. You really forgot your whole brain. She read this post with her coochie. Just checking. Is the garden bin collection back as normal? Yes, Brenda, it is. Middle finger. Just checking, Brenda. Is that the emoji you wanted to send? It was meant to be a thumbs up, but I may have read. I may have the wrong glasses on. Sorry for the offensive. Oh my goodness, I've just had a metal compliment. Really sorry. Seriously, Brenda, don't worry about it. You brought tears to my eyes after a weird couple of weeks. It's good to laugh. Well, this is just wholesome. Oh boy.
Warning. All armed personnel, the mortally challenged have entered the compound. Evacuation is advised.
Oh boy. How do I report a business that is not essential and isn't following orders? Try to get guests to proactive. I taught my daughter to teach about flat earth, and the other day we were in the toy shop and she spots a globe. First thing she said was, what is this nonsense? I was the toy shop which lies. Please be parody, please be parody. Gluten-free chocolate chip cookie. This product contains gluten. Wait, my husband, your husband, you know, baby. Let's go ahead and make this nice. This is cute. I'm happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish. Just found a weird green lemon. Is there a line? always say I had an insight when it comes to open world details. Even the older GTA, whenever you get a car busted so bad the hood came off, there'd be an engine. You actually saw a record engine. And the insights now starts too. No engine, nothing, but a hole. This is beyond lazy. I'm not one for nitpicking, but you gotta realize, as a developer, that there are people out there that will notice that a car engine missing from a car. Oh my freaking god. Let me explain to you. A freaking engine is in the back of the car. I think the engine being in the back, you want the car to go forwards, the engine has to go in the front. If it's in the back, it'll just go backwards. Seriously choking, and oh my god, I just have 80s music playing in my head, and right now it's weird. I didn't think I remember these songs. The Guardians of the Galaxy, oh wait, I don't. Change.org, make gyms essential in Georgia. Essential to work out at home, away from people. Thank you, I would rather be half right than half wrong. You do realize that you are half wrong, you are also half right. Color name, white. Wait a minute. Flat Earther died after launching himself with a homemade rocket. Ah yes, natural selection. So as everyone else is on practice now. The door installed. Lol, I hate myself. Why did you put it? Man, come on. Calm down. That is not what Hong is. My friends started talking about this guy and referred to him as the hot chicken guy. Yep, that's what he's known for. Yep, nothing else. Honestly, I think it's a really the illusion of the film so much. You are quite literally in some kind of movies in the making. You think behind the scenes shots. Why are you here? I'm bored. I'm shocked. We should get together. Bored. Like I don't have anything to do. Not bored. Like a chalkboard. Learn to spell check. Oh god, I don't know what word to say. She did all the homework. Did you do it in a piece of paper? If she did, can you please take a picture of it and send it to me? Yes. Okay, thanks. I want you to make your impression on the opinions. There's always been some Raz kids that will get assigned here. If someone broke into our house when we were sleeping, they eat it. Oh, right. Yeah, they can't break into our house. That's not good. People think iPhone is better. Emoji. Your profile picture is you with an iPhone. Yeah, you're right. About that. The truth is just so damn obvious. 5G cell tower, weapon with 5G back, vaccine-based 5G chemtrail beam, COVID-19 mind control beam, new 5G activated nano surveillance stores. 50 most popular women on the head. Lady Gaga, Kesha, Madonna, Beyonce, Rihanna, Britney Spears, Justin Bieber, and Miley Cyrus. Yep, all women. Oh no, why is the keyboard like that? Why? What were they not obvious enough to you which ones they were? Not read using glasses? Also, why is the incel sticker all the way up there? KKK leaders started stabbing each other over argument about who's the most racist. Wow. Please tell me this is like an Onion article, right? Ron got himself a stalker. That's the same game. If wireless PCs existed, we could literally take them anywhere and use them to be even more productive than having to plug it into a socket all the time. You mean a laptop? I think I said PCs very clearly. People who left Reddit, what was your reason for leaving? They're not there anymore. On April 19th, 1995, a man robbed a bank with lemon juice on his face as a disguise. Since he knew lemon juice could be used as invisible ink, he figured it would make his face invisible on cameras. Boy, what a moron. Hello? Yes. I found your friend's phone. Could you tell your friend I found it? Who? The person whose name is at the top of the screen? Oh, okay, thanks. No problem. Hey, Katie, it's me, Adam. Somebody found your phone. Have a good day. Bruh. Are you Samantha? I have a BF. Go away. I found your wallet. You left it by the counter at work, and I found your number through one of your business cards. Oh, that's awesome. Can we meet up so you can return it? I have a GF. Go away. Winter testing on LRT vehicles was conducted.
Dr. Hayden is transferring himself into your ship's mainframe. The architecture is similar to his own. This will...
Finally, Priest is hiding in Sentinel Prime. The Khan Maker does not want him to be easily found. The only functional slip gate to Sentinel Prime is in the core of Mars, in the lost city of Hibeth. I have marked its location for you, but getting there will take time. There is no easy way to access the core of Mars.
There are no known pathways that lead there, Dr. Hayden.
The BFG 10,000, designed by Dr. Samuel Hayden as part of the Anti-Demonic Defense Grid.
I understand. Searching the coordinates to the BFG 10,000 now.
You can't just shoot a hole into the surface of Mars.
The portal is ready.
Outside?
Yeah.
And with that, you can And with that, you get to play Doom 2, which is amazing. So, you can be playing. It takes some weeks to get the
Cheat codes can be a lot of fun, though sometimes they go well above and beyond. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on Game Ranks, the 10 craziest cheat codes ever discovered. Starting off at number 10, it's Rage 2, the Cheat Wizard. Rage 2 is part of a dying breed of games that still have cheat codes, and there is some appropriately weird stuff here. I mean, you don't go out on a whimper, you go out on a bang, right? If this is where we go out as far as cheat codes go, at least we're in good. Actually getting cheats in Rage is kind of strange on its own. You have to buy them from a game vendor called Magoo the Unborn, who sells them at his store, which appears at random locations around the map, usually somewhere in the middle of nowhere, conveniently enough. But at least the balloons make it stand out when you see it. Most of the cheats are pretty amusing, but not too crazy. Stuff like making enemies die in a pit, or causing red barrels to rain from the sky in front of you, etc., etc. Goofy stuff. The craziest one is definitely He's on Fire, which makes it so the NBA Jam announcer... Welcome to NBA Jam! Tim Kitzrow, yes, the actual person who did the NBA Jam color commentary into the 1990s. Yeah, he commentates over the in-game action, and he does it a lot. If you have any nostalgia at all for NBA Jam, this is a hilarious edition, and if you don't, it's another bizarre non sequitur. Either way, it's crazy, and I would hope people find it funny, because I sure do. Oh, now you mean business! Coming in at number 9 in the Grand Theft Auto series, a pedestrian riot. This is an all-time classic cheat. The riot adds a little more chaos to the madness of Grand Theft Auto games, making it so that every pedestrian on the street becomes aggressive. Like, you don't last long, and don't expect to, because this is basically, like, total insanity. The only way you're going to survive this is cheating yourself some protection, which you can do, sure, but this is clearly one of the more dangerous modes to activate on this list, because if you save your game while this is active, that is it. It will never go away. There is no option to disable it, and you're just stuck dealing with an endless riot forever. Grand Theft Auto games can be notoriously buggy when it comes to cheats, and everyone who's a fan of the series knows at least one simple thing. Never cheat when save. It's bad enough to try to follow the damn train without having to deal with this chaos as well. The cheats literally make everyone in-game crazy, and if you make the mistake of saving, it's gonna make you crazy too. Crazy pissed off. Maybe the actual cheat is that if you cheat in this game, it will cause you to want to start a riot. At number 8 is Rogue Squadron 2's Flying a Car. The original Rogue Squadron had a cheat that took players years to find in the Goo Fighter. And while it's interesting it took so long to pick it up, the actual vehicle is not that interesting. Now this secret vehicle in the sequel, this is something different. Sure, you can unlock famous Star Wars vehicles like the Millennium Falcon, the TIE Advance, or the Slave One, but what you really want is the convertible. Nothing is better than flying through the void of space with the top down. This is actually a specific car to the 1968 Buick Electra, and even more ridiculous, it's pound for pound the best starfighter in the game, with crazy speed and agility and the best secondary weapon for any ship, period, no competition. There is even a bobblehead in the cockpit of this vehicle. If you want to get gold medals in every mission, this is the vehicle to use, which might actually be the craziest part of this all-around crazy cheat. At number 7 is Tomb Raider's Exploding Lara Croft. The original Tomb Raider games were notable for their bizarre cheat inputs. Instead of just going to a cheat menu and putting in a code or pressing a series of buttons in-game, you had to perform certain moves and actions to activate a cheat. Like, to skip to the next level in Tomb Raider 2, you need to hold the walk button, sidestep left, right, left, back, forward, release walk, turn around 3 times, jump forward, walk. For the game, it is actually quite a bit about precise movement. It makes sense, but that's a hell of a thing to pull.
Ja, gaat goed.
One of the strangest of these codes is, well, the Exploding Lara cheat, which, by the way, does exactly what you think it does. To perform it, you hold walk, step forward, then back, turn around 3 times, this time still holding the walk button, then backflip. Perform it correctly, and you explode. Maybe one of the most pointless, elaborate, and hilarious cheats of all time. And again, where half the fun is jumping off ledges and falling to your death, I guess it only makes sense that you get a cheat that blows you up. At number 6 is Earthworm Jim, and the alternate heads cheat. There's an interesting story to this one outside of it just being a pretty weird thing in a very weird game. If you enter a certain code in the cheat menu, it'll change Jim's head. There's a few different combinations, classic with a mustache, classic, of course, an afro. But perhaps one of the strangest ones is Donkey Kong with an arrow through his head. Why the Nintendo reference? Well, I guess it's a joke that the developers snuck in regarding Donkey Kong Country's release date, November 1994. It's very close to the SNES release of Earthworm Jim, which is October of that same year. The cheat only worked on the Sega Genesis version of the game, which had been out for months before Donkey Kong came out, August of 1994. So it's most likely a flavor jab of the game's edition. It's kind of surreal seeing what is clearly a Mario character on a Sega system. At least it was at the time. Nowadays, you're always seeing Sega characters show up in Nintendo games, but this is a time when Sega and Nintendo were bitter rivals, a time when Sega did what Nintendo does. So this is pretty unusual. At number 5 is Banjo-Kazooie Cheater Punishment. Backfit cheats in the original Banjo-Kazooie on the Nintendo 64. You had to go to an actual in-game location and jump on each letter individually in a sequence. Normally that wouldn't be too bad, but these codes are long. These are the kind of codes you put in. The cheat once it's shown, but the long tunnel will now cheat now Banjo. You're able to see it on Navnut's table. You can't make any mistakes, otherwise you have to do the whole thing over. And that's not even the crazy part. I mean, the crazy part's the one that turns you into a washing machine. And as a cruel joke, you didn't put any more than 2 cheats that didn't involve revealing eggs or ice keys, items that were part of that whole infamous stop and swap system that never actually did anything. The game just outright deletes your save. I mean, it warns you about it first, but this is Banjo-Kazooie, a sort of irreverent game, so you'd think that these warnings about deleting save files were just a joke. But no, they're gone. They get deleted. This one isn't crazy because of the cheats themselves, but what the game does to you if you use them. It's an instance where the punishment definitely does not apply. Number 4 is Time Splitters Perfect Cascade. The Time Splitter series is basically the spiritual successor to GoldenEye, so of course it goes all in on the Time games has defined features and cheats. What you'd expect, it's, all here. It's dirty and ammo, but by the 3rd game of the series, things are starting to get weird. Like the human gun sounds cheat, which replaces the normal firing sounds with people making gun sounds with their mouths. Or Cascade, which plays textures with this graceful and binary. Like The Matrix, for whatever reason. Probably the most bizarre one is this, twist, pun intended, on an old classic. You've seen Big-Headed Mode. Have you seen Rotate Mode? Get it? Twist, rotate. Yeah, it makes it so everyone's head constantly rotates. And it's not just for show either. Not for you anyways. The AI's sight range actually rotates at the head, making it completely impossible to see. And number 3, Assassin's Creed 3. The Assassin. Not really a series that's known for its cheats. So it really stands out that we're talking about an Assassin's Creed 3 cheat. To see this elusive assassin, first have to head to the home base with that important stuff, and clean out a corner on the back wall near the porch, and then hit something. A turkey will show up for some reason. Now target it and input the famous Konami code. Up, up, down, down, left, right, VA. And the turkey transforms into an assassin turkey, complete with a little bit of awe. This is one of the most fancy things I've ever seen. It's certainly interesting, at least. Sadly, the turkey can't actually assassinate anyone, although I'm not certain why you would expect it to. It is, in fact, a turkey. At number 2 is Age of Mythology's Crazy Secret.
Warning. Slayer threat level at maximum.
Coming up with weird fancy parts for fun, like the Cobra Car or Furious the Monkey Boy. But with Age of Mythology, they really go nuts with the secret units. Like Bella, he's just a dog, but is insanely overpowered. Like, whoa, she's named Black Hippo that has a rainbow trail following around. They pass a heart-shaped shadow, and when they attack, they spit out hearts in hearts. Yeah, I just said all that. Input Canada and Little Swan a laser bear, which both sounds and is bizarre. It's a bear that shoots laser beams in its eyes, and it has two monkeys. If you wonder why it's O Canada, well, the Canadian flag is its cape. Also, most powerful in the game. Makes sense, right? Now, if you input times of power, there's something important, which is just and zoom in on him, and he kind of looks like the little boy from Fallout or the big boy. I don't know. It's crazy. It's everything in this game. And finally, at number 1 is Enter the Matrix's secret multiplayer mode. I mean, just cheating at all in this game is an ordeal. In the main menu, you'll find an option to hack. This leads you to an extensive hacking subgame that's just, yeah, there's a lot going on in here. You can't just type in cheat from the start. You can only input words into the command line that you've learned through exploring the directory, which and while most of the cheats are pretty standard, there's one in particular that's just totally insane. Multiplayer mode. The fact that there's an entire multiplayer part of the game is pretty crazy enough. I mean, you don't do that. On research, this seems like it's part of the game left uncovered before partially finished. So they left it in as a bonus for curious players to discover. Playing it, you can't tell they want to finish it. That you can do a great game. UI elements are obviously placeholders. Still, it's got all the characters, 3D Morpheus, that classic Matrix character, the janitor, and, oh yeah, a car. Yes, it's a fighting game. You can play as a car. Multiple versions of a car. Like, this is 3 levels of insanity. First, elaborate and completely optional. Then, the secret multiplayer mode. And then finally, most insane of all, a fighting game where you can be a car. Give me the blue pill. I just Anyways, that's all the crazy cheat codes we're going to talk about today. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day. I believe in the subscription. So click subscribe and don't forget to enable all notifications. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon Hero. And we'll see you next time, right here on GameX.
Warning. BFG 10,000 is firing.
Putting together a great team on your favorite game isn't easy, especially with players like this. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on Game Ranks, the 10 worst types of players to have on your team. Coming in at number 10, the vindictive kamikaze. You know the kind of person I'm talking about. They rush into the other team's territory, not giving a crap about what happens. They seem to think they're Rambo or any Arnold Schwarzenegger character or whatever, and they get absolutely annihilated. They just get destroyed, and they're gone. Their turn is up. They respawn in friendly territory with a very specific complaint. Where was my team, guys? You didn't let me hold that one. This kind of person may have been easy to call these noobs, and will definitely and will paint it as though it is somehow your fault or your team's fault for letting you down. Now, they don't always leave. A lot of the time, the complainer is not really that complaining about, but when they do, it's actually a pretty big relief. I don't want to play that guy. Moving on to number 9, another terrible teammate is the thief. A really cool person who steals everything that you're about to pick up because they're either so bad they need all of it or they're just a greedy bastard. In fact, the skill that they've developed is collecting everything that they think their team is about to collect. And honestly, sometimes it's pretty funny. It's never really funny when it happens to you, but if you're not in like an important match, sometimes it's really funny when you see somebody else do it. Because there are some people that get really creative. There's a gif of somebody playing Apex Legends just sliding through an item that their teammate is about to collect. And as much as I think it's a dick move and I wouldn't do it, and I don't want people to do it to me or really anyone, there's something simple about it. Maybe it's because it's not useful or helpful in any way, and yet people seem to want to do it. Alright, that's not how it's funny, that's why I don't like it. Sometimes I get those things confused, you know? And moving on to number 8, the kind of player who waits till you die and then steals your loot. You know, the person on your team that feels the need to compete with you, basically, as far as loot goes. Now, a good teammate would wait by your loot and even possibly protect it from outside interference while you respawn and get back to it so that you can retain that loot. This should be standard etiquette in teams, however, some people just don't know when to be cool. Oh, my teammate died? Well, I'll benefit off of all the work that they did in this game. It doesn't matter to me that them being well-equipped is something that actually does as we're on the same team. I do not think this way. First off, life is a very short time and consider almost none of the consequences of any of my actions. Winning and losing are not things that I think about. Having more loot is, however. It's annoying, particularly because these people don't realize that they're making the game harder on them. The beauty of being an infinite supply in most competitive multiplayer. You just need something you're good at. Don't steal from teammates. Number 7, people who are annoying on the mic. And I got a few different types for you. First, loud breathers. Not just people who breathe through their mouth, but people who do it very loudly. I mean, there's plenty of people who breathe through their mouth when it's quiet, but the mouth does happen to be much closer to the microphone. If you're not quiet, well, no. I'm taking it right here. Another one is that kid that shows up to matches and screams PewDiePie from 2010. When he's so surprised at all the things that happen in this game, despite the fact the game is something you've been playing probably for several hours, if not several days, if not several weeks, if not a game that they've been playing for months at a time. Well, this isn't an old school Let's Play, kid. You should know these maps by now, and you should also know that I've got headphones on. I don't want to hear you scream. The last one I'm going to mention in this one is the person who blasts music. They just put their microphone next to a speaker so they play like EDM or metal or sometimes even disco. Like, I'm not insulting any of these people. Welcome to my wonderful world. Look at those rich, vivid colors, rosy reds, citric greens, and deep purples, expressing the vibrance of my flavors. They're yours to enjoy. Same great taste with a new design. Gato Loco, it's all about flavor. Kinds of music, but I don't need to hear them when I'm in a first-person shooter. I don't need to hear them when I'm in an RTS. I don't need to hear them at all in games, period. Moving on to number 6, people who constantly tell you what to do in the game. Now once the blue moon, somebody comes along that clearly knows what they're doing and organizes a team well. I'm not talking about that person. I'm talking about the run-of-the-mill player of average to below average skill who can't seem to stop trying to tell you what to do. They do not know what they're doing. They are just telling you things that they think should happen, and it's not good. It's distracting. It's annoying. It's outwardly dumb. Like, I'm not impressed by being ordered around by somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about. Do they think it makes them sound like they know what they're talking about? Are they faking it and until they make it? Do they think they're going to attract a team of people by ordering them into situations that don't pan out? Is that what they think?
Warning.
Like, what do people think? Why do they do
10,000
this?
is fired.
Why do they not get better at the game first? And it's always people who don't know, like, the culture of the game at all. It's always some doofus who just, like, got the game yesterday and is like, I know what to do. Follow me, guys. No, you don't. And furthermore, it's okay not to know what to do. Just, like, you have to learn somehow, right? You do not learn by ordering people around
BFG
them.
10,000 is fired.
At number 5, hopeless players. Now, I am not talking about bad players. There are a lot of bad players out there who have hope. They understand how the controller works, for instance. They have the ability to memorize button combinations. They understand the goal of the game and are playing it for a reason. Now, what I want to touch on at this point is people who have no hope. People who are not playing the game for any discernible reason, other than maybe they want to say they play the game. I don't know, honestly. I'm talking about people who are so bad at the game, it would be better if they just lied about playing. If somebody saw them playing, they would assume it was their first time. Every time. I thought you said you played this game. Why, yes, I do play this game. You have experience with this game? Yeah, that would be correct. You are trying to eat the left analog stick. Playstyle, bro. This is how I game. He follows that up by drooling all over himself. Moving on to number 4, the Spawn Trapper. Now, it's annoying when a Spawn Trapper is on the other team, but it's also pretty awful to have them on yours. The thing about a Spawn Trapper is they think they're entirely justified in Spawn Trapping. If you aren't aware of what that is, if you've played an online shooter, you've encountered it for sure. It's when somebody camps outside of a spawn zone and kills people when they appear. It's the worst. No one likes it. Literally no one. And for whatever reason, the people who do it are just like, yeah, this is a good way to win. Like, no, it's not a good way to win. It's a very questionable way of winning. It's also not fun. It takes all of the enjoyment out of the game. You don't do the things the game does that attracted you to it in the first place. You just sit in one spot and unfairly kill people. When they're on your team, it reflects badly on you. People think that you are okay with it. You're like in some gang where that guy does that and everybody else is just like, yeah, it's pretty weird. And it's like, no, that's not how it is. I actually don't like it. And also, it's super annoying when this dude asks you to do it with them. It's like, no, you're what makes this less fun. Why would I do that? Coming in at number 3, people who go for trick shots non-stop the whole game. Like, they're just constantly setting up trick shots, you know, climbing on stuff, getting into specific positions to shoot over walls, or constantly using a special move, or expending special ammo of some kind. Basically to show you how good they are at aiming. Don't get me wrong, it's not bad to be doing these things, and it's certainly not bad to be good at aiming and timing, but the comes to running is detrimental, and it's in the way of the team. This person is just like standing in a place waiting for somebody to cross their path in the right way, and they're vulnerable, and they're an easy kill if somebody finds them. Also, they're not doing anything else. They're not racking up kills in some other way. They're just waiting for the other. It does not make them cool. Number 2, the hacker. Of course, the hacker. The hacker screws up the game for everyone, not just the other team. When he's on your side, he ruins the game too. Our time on this earth is limited, and you are wasting it with hacks and stuff. If I wanted to play with a hacker, I would find a hacker, befriend them, and enter games with them. But when you enter games on our team, you make them so high, and actually stop playing. Because the game just stops. Because sometimes that happens when somebody's hacking. If it doesn't get to that extreme, people just get mad, and for whatever reason, they think everybody on the team of the hacker is with the hacker, because apparently they must have befriended him and entered the game with him. Unfortunately, that is not how I encounter hackers in games. It's always random, and nobody else assumes that it's random. And finally, number 1, the quitter. And no, I'm not talking about the person who quits the mobile and MOBA you're playing. I'm talking about somebody who's actually playing an involved game that took preparation, practice, and skill. Not that mobile MOBAs don't, it's just that a lot of people play those things in very short sessions. Completely different reasons than somebody playing a PC game. Like, for instance, they might have to get out of training or something. But somebody playing one-on-one in some PC game that you spent a lot of time in, who just quits, often screws you out of points, and if you're the kind of person I am, screws you out of a match. I just like playing games, you know? That's the thing that I enjoy. If I'm honest, I don't even actually have to win or gain anything out of a match. I just want a fair match a lot of the time. A lot of games I play just to blow off steam, and this kind of person takes that. It's just kind of like, oh great, well now I have to spend time matchmaking again. Cool. You know, the part of the game that nobody likes, but is necessary in order to play the game. I can do that again. Thanks. Cool. What are your least favorite kinds of players to have on your team in an online game? Leave us a comment, let us know what you're thinking. If you enjoyed this video, click like, and if you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week, and the best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe and join the as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter, Falcon Hero, and we'll see you next time right here on Game News. Single-player games have a lot to offer, and yet, strangely, we end up doing a lot of interesting things. Michael Stubbs and Minimized Tenders can't resist doing single-player games. Starting off at number 10, Excessive Sin. Well, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. You save the game, you immediately did I save the game? I'll just save it. I'll just save it again. And you know what? I'm gonna save it like 3 or 4 times. It doesn't matter. And be too careful. They introduced autosave as a standard feature in most games, like a decade ago. You're still like, did I save? Did I? I don't know. My power goes, I don't know. I'm investing. Save. Have I saved it enough? I'm gonna save it again. Save it. Okay, now I can play the game again. Oh, I picked up a new item. I'm gonna need to save. Did I save? I can't remember if I saved. Moving on to number 9. Repeatedly trying to jump into places, onto places, or at places that you can't really go. I'll just go ahead and use probably the best example. When you're trying to jump through the invisible wall at the end of the net, you're like, I'm going to do this. I don't care that I can't. I don't care that I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do this. But I can't. I know I can't. There's also the unreachable high things, and you're just like, maybe if I just jump like this angle, like maybe from like this, I would be on top of the can't jump on that. Maybe I can jump on that though, if I try harder, to keep jumping, and then I'll use this thing that I can't jump on, that I'm trying to jump on, to jump onto the other thing that I can't jump on. Obviously the logic's pretty bad, but like, you'll find people doing this a lot. I like completely understand what I'm saying here, and I'm criticizing it, but I myself do this all the time. And to be fair, at some points I've found things that I'm not supposed to find in doing this. And at number 8, you know how in a lot of games, like Zelda, Resident Evil, Devil May Cry, etc., you find pots, boxes, empty bottles, lights, and you can break them. And in a lot of those games, stuff comes out of them if you break enough of them, or certain points. But in a lot of them, it doesn't. That doesn't stop me from breaking all of them. If I could prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt that there would be nothing that comes out of that lantern right there, if I could destroy it, I will. And this is, of course, not if I'm super involved in the story and trying to progress the game. It's at a break point where I'm like, it's time to time yourself here. What does that do? Or in the case of, again, the games that actually give you some of the core breaking points. It's a resource hunting method. And it's a way you can kind of like it because it's a resource hunting thing in some games where you develop positive association and you're kind of like, well, in some games that feels good. And even when it doesn't do it in other games, it still reminds you of how you feel when you break stuff in games and get something. It might sound a little abstract, but I think there's something there. And if it's not, I don't care. I like breaking stuff. And at number 7, when you see a locked door and the lock is very obviously an item, like the lock's at an angle or it stands out in some way, and you try to shoot it but it doesn't destroy the lock. Like they drew it in a tantalizing way, perhaps entirely by accident. I don't know. All I know is that there are some games which allow me to shoot the locks up with doors. Now, there may be specific kinds of doors, like fence doors which have a chain between in the parlance of the current time, shoot, or if a period piece, perhaps an axe can be thrown. But that lock is calling to me, and when you don't make it so I can lock it that way, I feel dissatisfied. It may be that you're making locks out of wood metal, I don't know. In which case, I guess that is, for all intents and purposes, realistic enough for a video game. I mean, you're suspending your disbelief for Death Stranding. It looks great, but yeah, it's probably more unrealistic than a bullet destroying a padlock. Still, guys, I'm trying. Why not make it more interactive, more immersive? And moving on to number 6. We all know non-skippable dialogue. We figure out if dialogue is skippable as soon as we've finished reading the first line, despite the fact they haven't finished saying the first line. That is the precise moment I begin smashing the button, and I do not stop until they're all million. Now, of course, I don't do this with everything. Some games have just amazing dialogue that I love listening to. I love reading. I love knowing what those characters are saying. But a lot of games have really clunky dialogue. Some of this is due to localization that doesn't want to make a lot of judgment calls. Some of it is due to wooden writing. But if it ain't the best dialogue out there, that's what I'm doing. Just pressing the button. Okay, I get it. Got the gist. We're good. Can't skip it? Okay, fine. Still pressing the button. Just like with a lot of the other repetitive motions too, I don't know why. It feels right. Sometimes the game really wants you to get through a certain amount of it before it lets you press a button, and every millisecond is important, but sometimes it's just pressing the button until it's done doing its thing. And at number 5, hey, you know how bunny hopping often doesn't actually do anything mechanically speaking? Well, that doesn't stop me from doing it in every game. Maybe it does help. It could help. I'm thinking about it. Why wouldn't it help? Well, I mean, if the developers chose not to make it help, then of course it wouldn't help. But it could help. Might be a good idea to bunny hop. I'm in a bunny hop. I go through these thoughts very quickly, and then just begin doing it. Doesn't matter what game. In a lot of cases, not even a game I should expect it. I'm doing that crap in, like, action RPGs. Any possible way to make your character a little bit faster. There's no such thing as a character in a single-player game that goes fast enough. There, I said it. And moving on to number 4, you know when you're not really from the distance that you would need a sniper rifle in order to see an NPC, and yet you still use the sniper rifle to zoom in on their face, and there are a lot of games that this doesn't yield a particularly hilarious result anymore, as incredibly high-resolution textures end up being used a lot, hence all of those massive game download sizes in years. But, I mean, there's still a lot of games that have some pretty funny textures on the faces of characters. And the further you zoom in, the this is obviously a little more particularly blood. But that doesn't mean faces look like faces automatically. It's still an artistic rendering, and it's still funny to zoom super far in, way further than you're ever intended to. At least it is to me. Moving on to number 3, excessive map checking. Oh, there's no way you don't know about this. It's particular to games where you might actually need a map. Games where everything is sort of straightforward and linear, less of course. But when you're kind of making a choice as to where you're going, you have a destination specifically, and you, like me, barely ever think to the waypoint there, open up the map, look around where I need to go, close that map, walk a few steps, open up that map, make sure I'm pointed in the right direction, to try to figure out how far I have to go, close that map, walk a few steps, open up that map. Yeah, I end up taking way longer than I should to get to a place when this starts happening, but once it starts happening, I think a lot of it is not necessarily trusting your eyes as far as related landmarks to that exactly. And at number 2, Hey, you know how every waterfall has something behind it? Absolutely every single one. And that's why you should check every single one and prove to yourself that not every single waterfall has something behind it. In fact, most waterfalls do not have something behind it. Yeah, Legend of Zelda has definitely trained me to believe that there will be something behind every waterfall, even though in that game there isn't something behind every waterfall. In that game, you're constantly disappointed by the fact there's nothing behind the waterfall, and yet when it happens, you're like, see, this is why I check behind every single waterfall, because it's very cleverly trying to trick me. It's really not a trick though, obviously. Like, when you make a game, if you did the same thing, literally every single thing, it wouldn't be good. And finally, number 1, shooting an NPC partner to see what happens. You know, an escort mission, or in a game where you constantly have a second character with you, or, you know, all of those things. The different approaches I've seen have changed a lot over the years. There are just a lot of games that let you hurt the other characters. It kind of makes you feel like you had way more responsibility in the game than you actually did. I can choose to be good and not do the thing that actively hinders me. But a lot of recent games have taken from the fire completely out. You actually see a lot of different stuff with games nowadays, and that encourages you to test them. I always like when you do it and the character's like, oh, why did you do that? I'm on your side. It's funny, but it does like a really good job of actively discouraging me from doing it more, unless I'm actively trying to be annoying to another person. Come on, we're on the same side. It has been so many times I've heard that. And I've got one quick bonus for you. I think it's one that you'll relate to as well. I'm going to relate it through the Resident Evil 2 remake, but this is applicable to a lot of games. When you get like an item or a key and you don't really need it anymore and you could discard it, but you don't, when even you intellectually kind of understand you're never going to need it, you're just like, resources are scarce in this game. I need to keep everything. I need it all. And then you realize exactly how our ancestors felt. To live in the world of post-scarcity. It is a beautiful thing. What can you not resist doing in a single-player game? Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. And if you like this video, please click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week, and the best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. So click subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification bell. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter, Falcon the Hero, and we'll see you next time, right here on GameRants. It's not as if EA doesn't do good things, but they've screwed up a lot. Hi folks, it's Falcon today on GameRants. 15 electronic arts mistakes they want to correct. Coming in at number 15, hey, have you ever apologized for innovating too much? Remember how everybody was mad about Dungeon Keeper Mobile because it's, you know, Dungeon Keeper Mobile and not a new Dungeon Keeper game and it's free to play and everything about Dungeon Keeper Mobile? Yeah, when they saw how angry everybody was about that, they said, we're sorry for innovating too much. No, that's not what you did here. That's just, it's so goofy. It's such an obvious, like, basically lie. They knew why people weren't happy with it. They seem to think our brains don't work, though, and that this just escapes the public record. Moving on to number 14. Way back in 2009, EA started a new program for their games as they were going online called the EA Online Apps. So basically, it was a unique code that came with the physical copy of the game, because that's how you buy games in 2009. That was basically the thing that allowed you to use online features with the game. So if you didn't have a copy of the game, you couldn't use the online features of the game. Meaning if you bought a used game, you weren't playing online. This was, let's just say, sleazy. EA's stated goal of this was to encourage original purchasers of its game, which even standing up to today's awful games industry practices sounds like crap. Also, it would be impossible today because so many games are bought digitally. And at number 13, Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2. So, let's go ahead and get my usual disclaimer on these games right out. The gameplay in these games has been really low. but both of them had serious problems. Battlefront 1 launched as basically a skeleton of a game. For people like myself who very much enjoyed the gameplay of it, it definitely wasn't enough. It took like multiple years to develop a game with enough content to have a game, and you had to buy a season pass to get all that stuff. Or you could just get all the DLCs separately, which then they were like, we realize we messed up with Battlefront 1, guys. We're not going to have a season pass. Everyone was like, alright, yeah, that's good. Battlefront also didn't have a campaign, and they were like, we realize that you guys haven't had, so we're going to do that. So we got a single-player campaign, and let's just be honest, the most interesting parts of it are the original character, and they didn't spend nearly enough time with the original character and the actual story going on. I didn't need to walk through a cave like say bugs. I didn't need to do that. But worst off, instead of a season pass, we got loot boxes. Oh, did we ever get loot boxes? They totally screwed up the progression and balancing to encourage you to do loot boxes, which, to be completely fair about it though, Battlefront 2 is a way better game today than it was when it launched. However, it's pretty hard to get once. At number 12, SimCity. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and say that SimCity is like one of my favorite franchises of all time. It's a great game. Pretty much every one of them, except for the one we're talking about, are fantastic. However, SimCity 2013 is the worst. It was an always-on like game that did not need to be always on. I mean, you could interact, but it was basically a single-player game. And on top of that, most of the launch week, the servers were down, illustrating the full problem of having a game that's basically single-player be always online. They had every single problem they could have with and this game pretty much killed the franchise. We haven't even heard one player in the SimCity game, and that's a huge shame. Moving on to number 11, I already talked about Star Wars Battlefront 2, but I didn't mention those. It's its own thing. But they made a Reddit post defending boxes by cleaning. It's about creating a sense of pride and accomplishment for unlocking heroes. It was the most downvoted Reddit post of all time. It set a Guinness World Record, which, by the way, when you're not trying to set a Guinness World Record, that's a bit weird. A lot of Guinness World Records are things that people pay Guinness to record as a world record for. That's Guinness's business model, if you're unaware. And they were just like, no, that's easily the worst post. We agree with the community on Reddit. Here's the record. Moving on to number 10, Mass Effect Andromeda, and its 5-year development of like, that's basically all I can really say. Why'd they make this game? It doesn't feel like it has its own basically. I mean, especially when you're trying to find a new homegrown species that you know and love. But mainly it feels like playing Mass Effect and Mass Effect didn't have any sense of urgency. Which is interesting, because after 5 years, apparently the last 18 months, they didn't know what the game was going to be, and were working with an intense sense of urgency as to create something that would work. It was going to be a lot more No Man's Sky-ish, but then they realized they needed to have a story, and somebody had to write that story. So they changed a bunch of things, and also didn't really write a story. Ugh, it's bad. Mass Effect Andromeda is bad. Moving on to number 9, though, you know what's worse than Mass Effect Andromeda? Anthem. It's hard to imagine the decision-making process that was like, let's take the original team that made all of the Mass Effect games that people like, and assign them to a new project, and have a different team work on Mass Effect Andromeda, and say, well, we work on this new live services game, which has no focus, no compelling story, no stakes. It's intended to be ongoing and never end, and therefore never will have any stakes. Also, let's monetize it, because why not? That's what we do with $60 games now. That people have lost. The fact that kind of seems to be the point of the game, because it really didn't stick to its roadmap or have a real definable roadmap or, you know, anything that you might consider some sort of positive thing for a game like this. I'm not saying a live service can't be good. I am saying people really suck at making it, and EA should have done this. It's amazing because it really seems very much like they want people to forget Anthem already. And at number 8, Need for Speed Payback, which, again, not like inherently a terrible game, but loot boxes. With Payback, it was basically the prequels of Battlefield 2. All of the progression was just add some specific points. Can you imagine, for instance, having a car that you upgrade based on a collectible card game? Imagine it in real life. You go to the store, you go, action cards. Sell cards inside your car becomes better. Now this is real, it actually kind of be a good deal. Upgrading a real car is actually pretty expensive, even for small stuff. But in a virtual world where you're just trying to play a game that progresses like a real game, it doesn't work. And moving on to number 7, hey, remember Ultima Online, the game that basically launched the MMO genre? It's actually kind of easy to forget the game itself. World of Warcraft basically decimated it. But during the development, A, the developers weren't sure what they were doing with it and felt like it was kind of an experimental project. And B, EA wanted to release now. And it wasn't because they thought it would be a profit driver or a good game. It was because they wanted to focus on Ultima 9. The launch of Ultima Online's beta was a disaster. They were never expecting to sell a lot of copies of the game. And during the beta, way more people than their total copies expected to be sold showed up over a weekend. Which is good because it says, hey, we've got a product people want. But it's bad because A, they weren't prepared for it. And B, it made EA go, alright, we'll get it released already. So it kind of got launched in a state that it shouldn't have. And given Ultima's a great franchise, I think it's owed a little more than that. At number 6, EA basically established a monopoly in NFL and not just the sport of American football by striking a deal with the NFL. Hey, in 2008, the only game publisher allowed to use the teams, the players, and the stadiums from all 3 leagues. Now, this is what we like to call a dick move. The reason they did this is because Sega released what I would call a superior performance in NFL 2.5 with more features, better online, and much more device. It was a $20 game. This had them fighting in their subscription. Now this monopoly was so egregious, it resulted in a class action lawsuit against them, and EA eventually had to settle, although it took a very long time.